Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krensman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, coming to you as always from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project as well as DraftKings. We thank them both for their sponsorship. You can check out the Bamboozle Project at thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself a whopping 20% off your total order. I don't know. Have you been on the site lately, Bamboozle Project?
Yeah, a little bit.
There is some new MYPB stuff on there.
Oh, yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
yes, there is. So
Snapback hats.
there is a lot of really cool stuff up there. You can kind of pick and choose by the season. You want to go summer and try to extend the summer as we now get into August. And as hockey fans, we don't really like to extend the summer.
Mhm.
We like hockey season, but if you're looking to extend the summer, there's plenty of summer gear on there.
Absolutely.
If you're a winter person and you like the cold weather, there is plenty of stuff on there as well for you to get for the winter. So check out the Bamboozle Project, but make sure when you check out, you save yourself 20% off your total order. This is episode 162, 162 on the Spanish style. We thank you for tuning in, utilizing the Spanish features capabilities. You can send us your question at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can DM us on the Instagram platform, and you can do that at Mind Your Pucking Business. And speaking of the Instagram page, we had a little fun here in the studio before the show today.
Mhm.
We are running, the off season. I think it's fair to say I have no shame in saying this. There's not a lot of hockey content right now. We are literally in the dog days of summer, where there is not a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of content, so we're going to try and have a little fun with you guys.
Absolutely.
We are running, which was your idea, actually, to put it as a tournament. So we thank Dougie Sticks for that contribution this week. That's why they pay him the big bucks here at Undefeated Media. You can go on there and vote in our first round contest of 90s music. There are 4 first round matchups. There's 8 teams, so four matchups. We have the 1 seed Nirvana going against Collective Soul, the 2 seed Pearl Jam going against Soundgarden, the 3 seed Smashing Pumpkins going against Third Eye Blind, and last in the 4-5 matchup, it is Rage Against the Machine versus Radiohead. So you can go on there and vote for your winners, and we'll see who at the end of the day reigns supreme.
Absolutely.
You have any predictions for this?
I'm trying to pull it up. It won't let me pull it up. I don't know. It's gonna be neck and neck. The 90s. Those people were very spoiled. That generation. There's a lot of bands that came out of that generation.
There definitely was a lot of bands in that generation that were good and are underrated, and some of them are highlighted, I would say, in the 8-team bracket.
Absolutely.
And I believe that is it for the beginning of the show stuff. We can listen to us. I'm sorry. You can listen to the show on iTunes and Spotify. You can stream it at your pleasure. Then you could watch it live right now on YouTube. You could stream it where you could go back and watch it on YouTube. And we could also, if you want to do the live features and interact with us, you can send us your stuff on YouTube or Instagram Live. And Austin Favale with a wonderful point right off the dot.
From Favale's tutorial and Ramsey.
From Ramsey, yes. Already had a good point. Nickelback all the way. Nickelback should have been in. Maybe should have been in.
Maybe.
It's hard to
90s,
choose.
Though? I feel like that's 2000.
I think Nickelback was more 2000s because the 90s, I was in college at the end of the 90s.
When Spider-Man come out, didn't Nickelback have all Spider-Man soundtracks?
What's their most popular would be Far Away? Like if you had to name
Picture.
one.
Photograph, that's the one.
That would have been late 90s.
Look at my photograph.
They're probably more 2000s, but Austin has a really good point on that. All right. So we have not been on. Summer is weird for us here, right? Because we want to be on every week, but what we don't want to do is just give you, us talking about the same thing over every week. We are literally right now, as we sit here, as we tape this episode on Thursday, August 8th, in the dog days of summer, where there is literally nothing going on. Other than the Rangers re-signing Brian Lindgren and some other minor things, which we'll get to since we've been on last 3 weeks ago, there hasn't been a lot. So we haven't been on. We will be on, obviously, today. We're not on next week. And then we'll gradually get back into, as training camp opens in September, which is only 4 weeks away, we'll get back into, being on a more regular basis. I did want to mention something on a personal note off the top of the show because I haven't been on in 3 weeks. I used to live, so before I lived in the house that Jenny and the block and I live in now, we used to live in a townhouse, and we lived there for about 8 years. And actually, ironically, is about 10 minutes from where we taped the show. So it's taped near the Undefeated Media Studios.
Nice.
We lived in a townhouse, right? And so whether you want to in a townhouse or not, whether you want to live, whether it's a good or bad thing, you have to know your neighbors, okay? Because you're literally on top of everyone, right? And so Jenny and the block and I lived there. In the beginning, we didn't have kids. When we left there, we, I guess, had 2 kids. But when we were there was a gentleman who lived across the street, not in a townhouse, but in a condo. So not, multi-level, small, 1 bedroom, 1 person living there. And his name was Bob. That was his name, Bob. And Bob was not and he would tell you this, so I'm not saying anything. I'm just explaining the situation. Bob was not a social individual, right? Bob had no internet in his house. He had a flip phone, okay? So if but Bob was a huge Ranger fan.
All right.
He would go to work. He would drive a forklift in a warehouse actually around the corner from where we taped. Like literally, you could walk to where he worked.
Wow.
Okay. He would drive in the morning to work at 5 a.m. He would come home at 4 and he would do nothing. He did not have a social group. He was not a social guy. That was Bob. That was who he was. And that was fine. I'm not saying it negatively. I'm just explaining the situation. But Bob loved the Rangers, and Bob knew about the Rangers. And because he didn't have internet, and because he had no idea what was going on unless he was watching the game, right?
Yeah.
I would have to go across the street and say, hey, Bob, they just traded Ryan Callahan to Tampa for Martin St. Louis. He would have no idea. He would find out when the next game came on because they would be talking about
who's that guy?
That was Bob, okay? And Bob was, so this was the like 2012. My daughter, who is now 13, believe it or not, and it's crazy to think, but my daughter was 1 year old at the time when we lived there. And Abby would stand at the window. I mean, we would make her do this, I guess, because she was 1, she wouldn't know. But Bob was a man of habit where Bob would come home at the same time every day. He would pull in at 4:10 in his red Honda CRV. And we would have, it was me. I shouldn't blame Jenny for the block.
Bob?
No. I shouldn't blame Jenny for the block for this stupidity, but it was me.
Yeah.
We would have Abby stand at the window when Bob would pull up, and she would chant Henrik, 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 because we convinced our 1-year-old daughter at the time that was Henrik Lundqvist. Now, Bob was not Henrik Lundqvist or anything close to it, but that was Bob. Okay, so Bob loved the Rangers. Bob passed away like 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately.
Sorry for your loss.
Okay. Thank you. And I went to the funeral, which ironically, now, if I tell you it's a funeral home near here, you're going to know which one it is, because it is literally, you could throw a stone at it in this town. Right. So I got on the funeral, and because Bob was not such a social individual, it was not packed. Right. It was his family, some workers from where he worked, and a super small circle of people. And I walked up, and this is not like the great, but there's a reason I'm telling this story. I walked up to the casket, as you do as a funeral, and what is Bob in? What does Bob's family have him in his casket? A Ranger hat. Isn't that the coolest thing? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I felt like I needed to mention this for this reason, right? Here's a guy who would never be out in a restaurant, he was either at work, at his parents' house, or at home, or maybe at a grocery store shopping for himself. That was it, right? And Bob loved the Rangers. And, you think about it, and I was thinking of this, and this is my point, because you're going to think, like, why is he talking about this? It's the offseason. He has nothing to talk about. But that's not really the point. Here's the thing. Everyone who listens to MYPB, or the vast majority of them, are Ranger fans, right? That's why you listen to us. I know there's some of you, and you give me stuff. I'm an Islander fan. I'm a Devil fan. And we go back and forth and we banter. I know we have some Flyer fans that listen to us, and that's great. But let's focus on the Ranger fans, right? We all have one common goal. We all want one thing, right? It's very easy to figure out. We want the Rangers to win the Stanley Cup. That's why we do this show. That's why that is the goal, okay? If you take that aside from a minute, it's not always about winning on the ice. Sure, that's the number one thing, but it's not the only thing. What Bob illustrates is it's also about the relationships of you find in life that being a fan of a certain team gets you. If I was not a Ranger fan, I wouldn't have the memories of sitting on the front step with Bob talking about Ryan Callahan and Dan Girardi and all these guys of the early 2010s of the Rangers' great teams when Lundqvist was in his prime. So if you just, you step back and you think about it, it's about cheering for a common goal. And that is option number one and the number one thing you want. It is, of course. But there's a second thing about being a fan. It's the people you meet at MSG when you go in your season tickets and you see the guy sitting in row 4 behind you because he's there 15 games with you and you meet him. It's the relationships. It's not all about winning. And I think I wanted to mention Bob because I just, he's a great guy. He was a huge Ranger fan. And we would talk, all he ever wanted the Rangers to do was win. Like this was the only thing he ever wanted. And we talk about, like the whole Rangers winning the cup in 1994. Now I can die in peace. And I guess Bob would have been 24 years old then. And I didn't know him then, but I'm sure he was a fan and I'm sure he appreciated it. But you just hope that your team, whether it's the Rangers, whether it's the Yankees, the Mets, whatever, Giants, Jets, whatever team you root for, gives you that happiness in your life while you're here because you just never know if they're going to win. But you're grateful for the memories that you get by interacting with other fans. And that's something grateful we're here with all of you guys. So
absolutely.
And Johnny Lazarus synopsizing it perfectly. It's not about the wins or losses. It's about the friends we make along the way. Absolutely.
Just like
correct.
Johnny. We made friends with Johnny along the way.
Absolutely. Great point, Johnny. Thank you for agreeing with that. So, all right. Not a tremendous amount going on on the Ranger front since we've been on. Last week, the Rangers re-signed Ryan Lindgren to a deal. The only argument I could have, if I want to nitpick it, was that, it was a $4.5 million for a year. Maybe that's a lot of money for 1 year, but knowing that the deals that you're going to have to make that could really hurt you against the cap are Igor next year, Lafreniere coming up, and then you look at this deal specifically and you say it's only against this year's cap because it's a 1 year deal, I can live with it. I'm not awful. I'm okay. I'm not negative about the Ryan Lindgren deal. I also didn't think he was going anywhere. I was surprised a little bit at how many people turned on Ryan Lindgren really quick. Like there were a lot of people that were just automatically, now he's hurt too much. I don't want him when I see that sort of deal that he got. I didn't have a problem with it.
So in other sports, we see crazy contracts and crazy money being thrown around. So just like Chris is saying right now, 4.5 for a guy who plays on your top line and is a top PK is not a lot. What is a lot of money for a player? What is the top NHL guy making?
The top NHL defenseman is probably making it. I'm thinking of like Fox, probably $8 million a year,
right.
8 or 9, which is fair. My concern, Chris, with Lindgren, and I believe you have the same concern because we've talked about this off the air, is his injury. He's injury prone. He plays a style that he's susceptible to getting hurt a lot, and we've seen that. So what
happens when you go hard.
But it's hard, I think, in any sport. I mean, look, I don't want to talk outside of hockey because I'm going to really not know what I'm talking about in a lot of ways. But I think when you give someone a 1 year deal, it's a hard thing to get complain about the dollar value against the cap if it's a 1 year deal, right? Dahlin in Buffalo, Chris saying got 11.5. So yeah, I mean, if you look at it from that point of view, what you're saying, and Chris, that it's a lower amount, absolutely correct. But I didn't have a problem with it.
Nice.
We posted a clip when Dan Rosen was with us 3 weeks ago, the last time we were on, about this Ranger is the Ranger most likely to get traded, and that being, of course, Capo Caco. Someone, and I'm not mentioning the name because I don't want to mention the name. I honestly don't remember who it is, although we could look. Really wrote back and gave us some pushback. Why would you trade Capo Caco? Why are you trading the second overall pick?
Why wouldn't you?
Why? Right. Here's my thing. And Chris, who's watching, will love this. One of the dumbest things I've said in all 162 episodes of MYPB, and one of the things I've gotten wrong to no level of wrongness, no high level of, or highest level of wrongness, was last year when we were going into the 2023-2024 season. And I said, this is going to be the year of what player? Capo Caco, where I was wrong, which will tell you that if you go back a year ago, if I was going to say something like that, I would believe that we were going to see a certain player who was drafted second overall live up to that if I believed he was going to be like that.
True.
I've now turned. I've had enough.
Turned on.
Okay. So if someone writes in, and then look, I value everyone's opinion, but we can agree to disagree. We can still be friends. And again, the whole memories thing that we just talked about with Bob. But if we talk about like, Capo Caco, when is he going to all of a sudden strike lightning in a bottle like we thought he was going to be? He's not going to play with anyone this season that he hasn't played with before. So it's not like you could even argue, well, you know what? If you put him with Zibanejad and Kreider, all of a sudden you might see the Capo Caco that we all thought we were getting. Well, why didn't we see that already the first times he's played with them? So we haven't. So, yeah, I don't know with Capo Caco. To me, you'll see him. If I had to guess, you'll see him traded by opening night. Would be my thought. I think you may see him traded. I think what will happen, I think the Rangers might be a little bit more active in the September training camp time frame than they have been in previous years, because the Rangers still, I think, have things to address. We put out as a question to you guys, because content is a little bit light this time of year, to put in, what do you guys want us to talk about the Rangers today? Kind of making it like a viewer's choice show. And someone brought in a good question, and I don't even know the answer to it, so I'm going to phrase it to the people that are watching as well. And it was, tell me, are the Rangers right now going into the 2024-2025 season better geared to win the Cup this year versus last year where they lost to Florida in the Eastern Conference Finals? And I don't know the answer, because I have to think about that, and that will be a question. Like I would say that you need to see the final roster, or what your opening night roster is, really, to make that.
What big pros or pickups did you have this year that
Riley Smith
moved the needle? Who's moving the needle?
Riley Smith is not moving. If Riley Smith is the only move that they're going to do in the offseason, it's not going to move the needle in the positive sense. I think, when you look, here's the other thing with this season, and we're not doing a season preview for the season today, but I'll say this to answer the question. Last year, obviously, in the playoffs, you got as far as you did because of Igor Shesterkin, right? Igor Shesterkin stole some games in the Carolina series that helped you advance, particularly game 3. And then Kreider showed up with some crazy third period heroics. You could have very easily not gotten past Carolina, because I'm not convinced you were the better team in that series. So Igor Shesterkin carried you. If Igor Shesterkin is not signed this offseason and given an extension, because next year then is going to be his free agent year, I think you can benefit from the sense that Igor Shesterkin would be playing on a kind of lame duck contract year, because sometimes you obviously see athletes with incredible motivation to play in those situations because they're playing for their next contract. I could see Igor Shesterkin playing out of his mind. Now, where that can hurt you, because the glass is half full or glass is half empty. If I'm going to give you the glass half empty, Igor Shesterkin plays out of his mind. They still don't win the Cup. And what's happened now is the contract value for next summer has even gone even higher.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe he is looking to win somewhere. So, you really got to pay him.
Sitting in the Blue 408 writes on the Instagram chat, and B-Rock, our executive producer in the corner, will like this. Right now, we could never beat the Devils. Not a chance. They got so much better, and we still don't have a right wing, and our defense is weak.
Wow.
So, you know what? I would agree with most of what he is saying there. The Devils have gotten a lot better, right? Again, we're not doing previews and predictions today. There'll be a time and a place for that in September. The Devils have gotten a lot better. They signed Pesky. They're going to get back. They're also going to get healthier. They have a new coach. They have Markstrom and goalie that they traded for from Calgary. I'm not 100% sold on Markstrom. If you have followed him, he's already almost in his mid-30s, and he's a very streaky goalie. Like, I saw him the game he played the Rangers this year I was at. They played the Rangers in February at the Garden. The Rangers won 2-0. One of the goals was an empty netter, and Markstrom played out of his mind. I went with Tyler. But that will show you when he's on. But he's also been off. They have a new coach. Sheldon Keefe comes from Toronto. Normally in the NHL, not always. The Rangers are a great example of this. Actually, now that I think about this point, I'm going to use the New York Rangers. When you have a first year, new coach, teams seem to do well. Look at Gerard Gallant's first year. Gallard bump. Look at Peter Laviolette's first year. Usually in the first year, the Devils have gotten a lot better. Now, the Rangers, to your point, still don't have a top-line right wing unless they're going to think, unless the Rangers front office thinks, and this might be what they think, that the answer is Riley Smith. We feel we can plug him in with Zibanejad and Kreider. Maybe that is the answer. I don't know. I don't love it, but you want to tell me you want to give it a shot and prove to me wrong? I'm fine with that. And the other point you're making, that the defense is weak and still needs to get tougher, is correct. The Rangers are always, forever, never physical. The most physical last Ranger team that I can remember is 1994. With Joey Kocur. Why are you laughing?
Because we got Remsanity.
Stop with this nonsense. Did you see this thing yesterday with him?
No.
This video?
No, what happened?
I'll send it to you.
He's lifting weights, getting ready for this season.
So he was at some sort of, I don't know what some event.
Yeah.
Some fan event.
Okay.
And I'm guessing, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing that this was billed as an event that either Matt Rempe was at or some NHL players. And so people were there and they had barricades set up. And we
Remsanity, dude.
And we know other people here that think they have barricades, and that's why he's laughing in the corner. I know that's why he's laughing, because he thought of it also.
Hey, don't give away the location.
I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to get myself in trouble here again with this. But so there were barricades set up. And I guess these people were either waiting for the players or waiting for Matt Rempe or whatever. Matt Rempe comes out. And I swear it's like Taylor Swift to these people. Now, look, it's fine to be excited. All right, he's a professional hockey player. He's Matt Rempe. If it's me, I'm going to save that sort of reaction. If it's Igor Shesterkin, if it's Artemi Panarin, who I was lucky enough to meet with my kids last year at a season ticket holder event they did for all of us, not Matt Rempe. And I'll say this. If the Rangers do an event for us in the fall, which they probably will do, like a meet and greet, when you go to these things, they never tell you ahead of time who's coming. Like, you have no idea. And if you ask your season ticket rep who's coming, they won't tell you either. They may not even know. I don't know. So when you get there, it's kind of like you find out who's in the room. There'll be a picture, and you go in the direction you want to go. If Matt Rempe is there in the fall, I'm telling you 90% of the season ticket holders are going to flock to him. I'll love that, because it'll open up the lines for the other players. Like Panarin and Zach Jones was one of them last year. K. Andre Miller was there. But if Matt Rempe's there this year, people will go ballistic.
Nice. Remsanity, baby.
But Remsanity doesn't mean that they're physical enough.
That one man ups the physicality tenfold.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
Remsanity comes along.
Do you think, like, and I know I'm more of the hockey guy here than you, but no, I'm not saying anything.
It's a great preempt to whatever you're about to say.
Well, it's a preempt because I'm not sure I know the answer, so I'm going to ask you.
All right.
Do you think a year from now, so let's go August of 2025, is Remsanity still a thing?
If he develops a little more, and I mean, we have like controls his, not temper, but controls his physicality and doesn't take stupid penalties. I don't know. I would be shocked if a year from now these people at an event in Connecticut, where I think this was yesterday, are going that ballistic to see Matt Rempe. I agree, but I mean, literally last year, like during the playoffs, the commentary like was just all like he wasn't even on the ice. They're like, "Are they going to put Remke in?" You know, like it was Remsanity. Like it was talked a lot about last year.
Yeah, but I like
for no reason, but still.
Yeah, but I don't know that like a year from now it's still at this level. It's got to fizzle out. He's got to become just like a he's got to become a player that's physical, but the love and like the cult following to an extent has to lessen.
Yeah. So C-Row on Instagram writes, Rem sanity equals pen sanity as in penalty.
I like that. That's good. You know what? You should do shirts that would say that. They would sell well because anything now, like if you were smart, and I don't condone like illegal use of T-shirts or anything like that.
Illegal use of T-shirts?
Well,
what is that even?
No, like you selling T-shirts illegally.
Oh,
if you were smart and you wanted to make a quick buck, you make
Rem
some
sanity?
form of like Rempe shirts, and you sell them outside the garden at games. People would buy them up, and it doesn't matter what it even says.
I'm a huge sucker for the cheap tee.
Yeah, Rem sanity,
and the guy comes with a huge bag with $5 T-shirts. Yeah, absolutely. Give me 3.
We should find out. I don't know how it works, but like on the Bamboozle shirt, if we could sell like an MYPB Rem Sanity shirt.
Oh, absolutely. You want one? We'll make one.
Okay.
You can talk Sanity, MYPB Rem Sanity.
Yeah. People would. I don't know that I would
wear.
You
guys let us know in the comments. Do you guys want a Rem Sanity MYPB shirt?
I don't know that I would wear
20% off.
Use promo code MYPB. I'm not sure that I would wear it like myself, but other people would.
You know those like I don't want to bring politics in it, but usually political campaigns will make them. It's like this type of art where it's like kind of cartoonish, not cartoonish, but it's like that like art.
Yeah.
I could see like him being like on a T-shirt.
I mean, look, you certainly could
with the MYPB logo on it.
It
says Rem Sanity with like that splotch, red and blue splotches, like paint splotches. Rem Sanity.
There you go.
Yeah,
that will work. Another popular question we got on the parts that we put out to you guys was on Offman. A lot of people are big on Brennan Offman. I don't know if Chris is still here watching because I'm sure he'll want to contribute if he is. And the role that Brennan Offman is going to play next year. I would think that when I look at the third and fourth line as it stands today, and again, the Rangers can still make a lot of changes, but as it stands today, I would think that they would have a place for him to play. They don't have a lot of options there that are a lot better. Yes, VC is there. The guy they signed, Pitlick, not Pitlick, the guy they signed from Edmonton to kind of fulfill Barclay Goodrow's role at a cheaper rate. Yeah, they have some options there, Will Cooley, but I've got to think that they're probably planning on getting Offman a lot more ice time this year. So to answer that, I would think you're going to see him more. And I would think you're not going to see a lot of Ranger stuff until September. But the way that the Rangers work, because they leak nothing, is like last week, Ryan Lindgren was signed last Tuesday to a new deal. And not that it was a huge news story, but it comes out of nowhere. Like the Rangers, you with the Rangers, you have no idea when stuff's coming. Like we're not getting into baseball, but with baseball, like with the Yankees, okay, the Yankees trade for the guy Jazz Chisholm or whatever his name is from the Marlins 2 weeks ago at the trade deadline. When it happened, there were already people reporting that it probably was going to happen for 2 days. Right? It's not nothing comes as a surprise. Nothing with the Rangers. You don't have that sort of
Aaron Rodgers. It's like they talked about it for like 2 years.
Right. When the Rangers do things, they do things, and you literally have no idea it's going to happen. So you don't know. But if it were me, I would imagine that it's probably going to be on the longer side.
Scud's asking you for some comparisons.
What about Brett Berard? How does he compare to Offman and the chances he may or may not get? So that's a good question. So I think Berard is not getting enough attention. There are some people I have been told within the organization that value Berard higher than Offman. And if that is true, that should tell you something. My problem with Berard next year is I think he might need more time in Hartford, but I think long-term the organization is very high on him. And I think there's a place like also when you look 3 or 4 years down the road and players that are going to be on the other sides of their contracts, on the other sides of their careers, Kreider, Panarin, all that, those people, there could definitely be a spot for him long term. So I just don't know that there's a spot for him right now this season, but that's a great question. I am big on him. And some of the things you've seen in his game both in the AHL as well as where he's been before, give you reason to be excited?
From our developmental, our like minor league team and our picks from like last year or the year before, anything that we're excited about?
I don't want to get into Gabe Perreault because if that would be what I'm excited about, but it would incite World War III with some people that watch us, and they're not here today because they're busy, and it needs to be talked about. And you know what? Let's do this. Save that question for the next show when everyone in the family's not on vacation because it's August.
Okay.
And I'll bet you we could get a little heated debate.
Get sanity in here, Rem sanity in here.
Yeah.
A little crazy.
Why don't we put up Scott's answer back? And that's great answer to the Berard question. I definitely agree. I just worry he won't get the chances up here and will end up being packaged. I get so that's a fair worry for sure. And it's definitely a fair concern if you don't think he's going to get the chances here. But I've heard from people that they are really big on him. And if that is right, I don't think they would package him. And if they were to ever package and trade him, they'd have to give him NHL experience to know that they would want to trade him, if that's making sense. So I don't think that'll happen. Again, it's the Rangers. You never know with this organization and their history of trades that don't work. But I am big on Berard. I just don't think it'll be this year. But we'll see.
Nice.
We shall see. All right, shifting gears because hockey is not in a huge let's say activity right now. Yeah. Let's shift for a minute to football.
Oh, hey.
We are in a unique position at MYPB where we listen to feedback from people. We listen to feedback from people that watch us, from sponsors, and I'd say we're in a little bit of a dilemma. You ready?
Yeah.
In the fall, we have always, you and I, have covered football, and we've always done it where we do, let's say in the fall, let's say the MYPB episodes are 40 minutes, 45 minutes, which is usually what we try to target because I've got to get to my real job. We've got other things to do. We always cover hockey for 30 minutes or so and then go into football. We now have some people that say, please give us more hockey content and get rid of the football. We want more hockey, more hockey, more hockey. And then we have some people that sit here and say, well, hey, can you guys keep the football? I like the football. Unfortunately, it's black or white. Either we cover football or we don't. So we're going to turn to you guys for the fall. Do you want us to still do 10, 15 minutes on the back end of the show? Hockey's always the forefront here. That's how we make our money. Yeah. But do you want us to cover football in the fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple picks and talk.
I mean, we try to focus on the Giants and Jets. We sometimes have football guests on, which we're probably not going to do this year. I don't think.
All right. I just it's
B-Rox probably understands where that comes from.
It's just it's an easier sport to bet on. So we get a lot of our gambling.
Here's the other problem. Here's the other problem. If I'm being transparent,
absolutely,
with not covering football, the Rangers are in season in October, November, and December, and January. Great, but when the Rangers have a week in November where they play 2 games and one's against Columbus and one's against Utah, something like that. And then we were just on, it's not really 40 minutes worth of Ranger content to do. We could do more around the league stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Make a couple bets.
So, we've had people tell us, and again, the feedback is what we want. Yeah. We've had people tell us, hey, when you go to football in the 30-minute mark, we turn the podcast off because we want hockey. I don't want to hear football. But then there's other people.
That's why it's at the end of the show, towards the end.
But yes, but then there's people
Would you rather us just stop talking?
I don't know. I don't know what we do.
I mean, you either rather us stop talking and say nothing, or just say another 5 minutes football. I mean, football is a physical sport like hockey. It's not like we're going from hockey to like gymnastics or like hockey to like
Nobody covers the backspring cartwheels like you do.
Yeah, I mean the triple Lux, dude.
All
Or is
right.
that
So
ice
some
skating?
feedbacks. So Scud wants us to cover football. We're going to have to do at some point. Obviously, it's a discussion we need to have internally in the next couple of weeks with football coming up. We're going to do some football now, but that's because there's not a lot of hockey going on.
A lot of the football players come to Ranger games and support. They always put them on the jumbo.
Justin Tuck is always at Ranger games.
Dayball, I see them all. They put them all.
Did you see Brian Dayball, by the way?
He's looking good.
He's looking real good.
Yeah, looking good. It's gonna be an exciting season. Oh, we can't talk about football. Sorry.
No, we're not. I try to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
And I have such struggles to lose 4 pounds or something.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Dayball looks like he lost 100 pounds in 4 months. Like, what am I doing wrong? Now, I could guess maybe like what's in the news about how people are losing weight these days, what he's doing. But like, you don't even recognize the dude.
Yeah, looking good.
Good for him.
It's an exciting year. I mean, we got good draft picks, and it's good stuff.
Was it last year or the season before? I get the years mixed up, where you somehow showed up for like 9 straight weeks of MetLife football. Like whoever was home for 9 straight weeks, you were always there.
Pretty much.
Was that last year or 2 years? It was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago, but I did the year after. It was still pretty solid showing. I had the baby. We had the baby, so I was getting guilt tripped.
Well, that'll get in the way.
But the year before, she was when Adrian was pregnant. It was more like, get out of here, because she was like, tired and hungry and pregnant.
Doesn't want you around.
But the baby's here now. It's like, you gotta watch the baby.
So that was 2 years ago. Do you think, all right, let's set an over under.
Yeah.
Total games, Giants and Jets combined. Mm-hmm. So there's 17 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah.
Okay. Meaning that, or no. There's 17 games now.
It's probably
so there's 17 home games. No, 17, 9 or 8. One team will, 9 or 8. Yeah, because there's 17 games. Each team played 17 game schedule. So say there's 17 home games.
14 home games.
17
for Jets and Giants.
17. 8.5 times 2.
Oh, okay.
They don't play. So 17. So there's 17 home games at MetLife.
Okay.
The over-under for you, I would set 4.5. Will you be
saying out of
17 games? Will you be at more than 4.5 football games at MetLife this season?
How many seasons? So basically, because there's 2 teams, it's 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So out of 17 games,
17 weeks.
How many games am I going to go to out of 17 home games for the Jets or the Giants? I'm going to say a solid number to look at would be around. I think the deciding the numbers that are in the play are like 8, 9, 10.
You're going to make 10,
7, 8, 9.
7 home games out of 17. That's impressive.
I mean, it's.
I first off, I set the over under at 4.5, and I think
4 is. I think 4. I don't think 4 is out of the question. I think when you start getting into like 7 now, it's like, ooh.
Here's the problem you're gonna have.
What?
Okay.
I think I'm going more.
No. Here's why I'm going with 4.5, and I may take the under. Here's why.
Yeah.
The Giants are not going to be good, and hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
And the Giants, the second half of the season, are not going to be good, and it's cold. And you are smart, right? Exactly. So let's say it's December and they're playing the Commanders, and the Giants are 3-10, and it's 20 degrees, and it's 1:00 on a Sunday. Why do you want to go stand in MetLife parking lot and drink your hottie toddies or whatever the thing is you eat?
Put the hottie toddies keep you warm.
Okay, but you can do that where you live.
Real good, true. But it doesn't have the same effect.
Okay,
you need the camaraderie.
So that's why I think the Giants are on the lower. You want to know why?
Look at this though. If I go to the first 2 games for the Giants and the first 2 games for the Jets, I'm already at 4.
Okay. But here's why I think the Jets are going to give you an under 2. Because I think the Jets are going to be good.
Yeah.
And Vegas thinks that too.
Yeah.
And the tickets are going to be harder to get. Doesn't mean you can't get them.
I got a couple sources.
I know you do. You seem to go to all these games for free.
I got a couple sources.
Yeah, you have a couple connections. We're aware. We won't mention them. But I'm going to guess that they're a little bit harder to get. I'm going to say you go to – no, you know what? I'm going to take the over, but barely 4.5. I'm going to say you go to 5 games. I'm going to say you go to 3 Jet games and you go to 2 Giant games early. But where that under bet hits is if you don't go to Giant games early, you're going to have no desire to go once November comes around.
Yeah, but I'm going to be like that. So this is – I feel like this is the the best and worst season, the best and worst time frame of the year right now. So my birthday is the worst time of the year. Not the worst time of the year. It's a depressing day because summer is now over. My birthday is August 25th. So like summer's over. Like when after my birthday, it's like it was never like when I was in college, we would go to school a little bit early for like practice and stuff and get with the team. Like it was like summer's over. So like football, you get really excited. Football's coming around and like the preseason games, but it's also like summer's over and like, you know what I mean? It's like a little depressing. Like I don't even want to say it. Some people were already saying it already. Like I'm not going to say when it comes around closer, they serve them at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not even going to say the word now, but like, no, like that just irritates me. But yes, I feel like I'm going to be excited. And I think 4 is easy.
Okay.
I think 4 is easy.
I was debating next week, not next week, 2 weeks from now. The Giants play the Jets. The Jets are the home team this year on like a preseason game.
Yeah, so like that one,
no, that won't count. First off, if you go,
even think I'm gonna like. Why?
Well, you wouldn't go. You go to regular season games. But I was thinking for me, like maybe I'll go and like take the kids because tickets didn't seem like they were that bad. It was preseason, but I think for you, like if you went to a preseason, I'm not counting that in the 4.5.
Well, what are the first? Let's see the schedule. What are the first couple games? Because if they're like interesting games.
Well, the first game for the Giants I know is against the Vikings at home, and then they're away. So here's the Giants schedule. The Giants are,
home at Vikings. Then they're away.
Then they're away for 2.
They have that is a Cowboys is the next home game, September 26th. And it's a night game. So is that Monday Night Football? September 26th. Is that a Monday?
Yes. No. The 26th is.
Yeah, that's Thursday Night Football. Wow.
Ugh.
And then you got Saquon comes home.
You're not getting
October
tickets
20th.
You're not getting tickets to that game.
Why not?
Because it's unless it's through your sources, that would not be an easy ticket. All right, here's where you're gonna go. The first game against the Vikings is week 1.
Okay.
If it were me, I'm not sure I would go. Like the first week, I like to have a whole see my fantasy team. I'm not going. Then the Giants are gone for 2 weeks. Then they're going to play on a Thursday night at home versus the Cowboys. Then they're away. Yeah. I don't know. B-Rock,
that is interesting. The real home season for the Giants doesn't hit until November.
Yeah. B-Rock, you taking the over-under 4.5 total Doug games? Is the 4.5 the right number?
That's a good, and I'm having a hard time because
it's a good number. I think it's a good number. It's a fair bet.
I want to say under.
Yeah, these you got.
I think 4 is a respectable amount of games to
The
go.
Vikings is a coin flip. Like, yeah, it's a good game, but it's a coin flip.
If you have free tickets, how are you not going to more than 4.5? Like, if your connections work.
Free. I mean, they're just like really good.
Oh, stop. I know the story. I won't say the story here to let it out, but I know the story. And
they're not free.
And okay, they're not free, but they're also
ridiculous.
You're also not paying. Ridiculous. So if it's 4.5, how do you not go to more than 4.5 NFL games between the Giants and the Jets?
Okay, so we looked at the beginning. So if it was just Giants, that is pushing it, because like the first game Vikings is like it's not like super exciting. Like the Vikings are an okay team. It's not like I gotta see the Vikings. Who's
don't say who has to see the Vikings. B-Rock and I know the answer.
Besides Paul, who's watching the Vikings? Well, like who's on the Vikings anymore? That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Okay, so no, he's not. So Vikings is like a coin flip. Like if I watch it at home or I watch it there, but it's just exciting because the first game of the season, it's going to be exciting because football's back. Commanders are away. Browns they're away. Cowboys game, that's exciting. If I can get tickets out Thursday Night Football, that's exciting. So that's definite one, right?
Right.
Then we got Bengals, coin flip. Eagles, exciting. That's a solid 2.
But my point though with the Eagles is that you may not be able to easily through your
you can get the door,
quote unquote sources get tickets, and therefore it's going to drive you to the secondary market. And the secondary market is that game's got to be through the roof now.
The Eagles last year?
They were home at the end. I think it was like, but by then the season was over.
Cold. Yeah, it was cold.
You're not
season
touching
was
that.
over. Yeah.
Why would
you play for anything?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's 10 degrees.
And
Why would you go?
Daniel Jones is injured. Tyrod Taylor's injured.
So we'll answer some questions coming in, and I didn't see them. I'm sorry, guys. We got sidetracked there a little bit. How many years will it take for the G-Men to be decent? Are you a DJ fan or no? I am not. So this is not. I have to say things in a PC correct with the world we're in.
Okay.
So I'm going to say this, but I want to just say what I'm going to say because I got in trouble for saying this years ago, and it wasn't bad. So I'm going to say it again because it wasn't bad. When the Giants drafted Daniel Jones that night, and I remember watching, it was 7th overall, and the first thing I said to wherever I was, I said, how many good football players come from Duke? Duke does not put out good football players. They put out good basketball players. Why that was viewed as a negative thing to say, I don't know, because it was true. I'm not a Daniel Jones fan. No. And the fact that they gave him that contract a year ago, I thought was ridiculous. And a year in, he's hurt.
True.
And he's been injury prone.
True. I don't hate the guy. I'd rather him be quarterback than a lot of other quarterbacks that are in the league. But yeah, I think that was that was an interesting choice. But I mean, if you watch Hard Knocks, they literally left all their options open and see who was available and see who was around. I think we made a right choice with Neighbors, so we give him a weapon. When all things are going well, he's not bad. So we haven't really seen everything not like go well. They had a terrible line. Now we got a better line. He's got a wide receiver he can throw to. I don't think we're going to miss. I hate to say it, but I don't think we're going to miss Saquon as much as we think.
You may be right on that, but I don't think they're having a good year. So when we talk football,
so that makes it interesting because the later games, if it doesn't mean anything, I'm not really that interested.
Then you're not going.
Yeah,
and that's why I think from the 4.5 over under from the Giant side. If you don't go early,
we got 2 solid games that are like you could probably, if there's a choice, I want to go to those games, and that's the Cowboys and the Eagles. Saquon's homecoming. I want to boo Saquon, especially if you watch Hard Knocks, where it looks like they're like, tell us what the other teams are offering you, and let us know, and we'll try to match it. He doesn't even call them back. Like, boo you, dude. And now we got Jets. So like, look,
before we go for the week or 2 weeks or whatever it's going to be. You just said you want to go to the Eagles game because you want to boo him.
I want to be part of the crowd that boots.
You want to be part of the Let's say that your sources don't get you tickets to that game.
Yeah, but I can get into the doorway.
I understand you can get into the door.
Like, nosebleeds aren't ridiculous to go to that game.
Okay, so let's say, you know what? Instead of
find out what the price is,
I'm going to tell you. Because I have
tickets right now.
No. We're going to actually give hard data here in real time. If I want to go to the Eagles game, okay, so you want to go and you want to boo Saquon, and and you say I don't care where I sit, I just want to be part of the crowd. So therefore, on October 20th, when the Eagles come to town, I'll sit in the top row. He can hear my boos. Yeah, you are paying 100. He can hear my boos. You are paying per ticket here about $180 after fees. Now times 2 because you're not going to go by yourself. You're going to bring me and you're going to pay for me. That was nice of you. So you're paying $360 just so Saquon can hear not the other 75,000 boos, your boo.
Okay, but this is also, what is this? Week 5? 1, 2,
no, this
3,
is
4,
October
5,
20th
6, 7.
Is week 7.
So I don't think you can determine. I don't think the season could be over by week 7.
But
0-7,
okay. But I don't care about that's not what you said. I'm asking you not the product on the field. But let's talk about what you said where you want to boo Saquon. Is it worth
it puts a tally into the I want to go mark.
Your in-laws say to you on that Sunday, Doug, if you want to take our daughter, your wife, to the Giants-Eagles game, we will watch the baby.
Okay.
So now you have the opportunity to have free babysitting,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got to pay $360 for you and your wife to go on the top row 15 of section 307.
Sure.
And Saquon now is going to hear not just your booze, your wife who probably doesn't give a rat's ass. Is it worth it? Are you spending $360?
You're dwindling it down to one tally mark. You're dwindling.
It's snowing
I probably
in
have the
October.
tickets. I have the tickets before the weather reports out.
Thank
But
you,
these
B-Rock.
you're focusing on individual tallies. There's tallies for pros and cons. If you just look at the Eagles game versus the Viking game, there's more tallies that I would want to go to the Eagles game more than the Vikings game.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's it's week 7, middle of the season. You're probably not. You're probably going for the playoffs. That's a big game because
They're
it's a
not going
division
for-
rival.
There's no playoffs for that
You
team.
don't
this
think
year.
there's no play. You don't think they're going
The Giants?
that bad? There was a stat or a video I watched like yesterday. The Giants missed the playoffs by like one game, and like the last 4 games that they had in the playoff run were all determined by one play. It was a field goal by the Jets. The Jets kicked a ridiculously long field goal.
Well, they missed the Bills in the end zone on the Sunday night
game. There was
game.
the one where the pass interference that wasn't called. It was where he hit the fingertips. He catches that ball. We're in the playoffs. So I don't think they're going to be that terrible. We have a better line. Whatever. We have the number 1 wide receiver now, number 1 overall pick wide receiver. I don't think they're going to be that terrible. I think they're going to be in the run for the playoffs in week 7. They're not going to be out.
Okay.
They're not going to be out.
We shall see.
And then, but then that's just talking about the Giants. You got the Jets, who
Jets are easier to go to because they're good.
Sorry, B-Rock, but a lot of people from the Jets want to boo the Patriots on September 19th.
Oh, God. They're not going because they want to boo the Patriots. They're going because they want to see Aaron Rodgers.
Well, absolutely. But I'm just saying, that's the first game that they're home.
B-Rock will be there with
That's
his Tom Brady
Jets
shirt.
Patriots is the first
His
game.
Troy Brown shirt or
Now-
Adam Vinatieri.
Here's the interesting
school.
part. Jets games, the really interesting one, Jets Bills, is October 14th, and that's like what's 5 weeks in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in is the first.
Is that
real
a night?
interesting
That's
game.
a night game, right?
Yes.
I think
October 14th.
that's Monday night because the Rangers are home that night. The second home game
There
of
you
the season.
go. So that's week 6, and then Texans not that interesting. Colts not that exciting. Seahawks maybe. Yeah. The Jets schedule. That's where numbers get interesting.
That's where the numbers get. Okay.
Because look at the Jets schedule. What really interesting home games do you have?
So the question is this. All right. The question is this. Do we, and this is the thing we need to figure out, because just as a recap, we've heard different ways or different things from different people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still want us to cover football in the fall? There's option A, which are the people saying we don't want football. We want more Ranger stuff. We want more NHL stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do the entire show of hockey for season 5 when it starts in the fall. Or we could do what some people say and say, I like the football. Keep the first 30 minutes, Rangers and stuff in the front of the show, and do football. We like when you cover football. So people are going to have to decide what we do, because we can't do both. We either cover football or we don't.
I get you. So I'm just gonna throw my little vote into the hat,
And then we got to roll. Yes.
Fine. So here's my thing. I played sports in high school. I played sports in college. Like, you supported the other teams in the school. So all the lacrosse players would go to the basketball game and the girls volleyball game. Like, they all support each other. I kind of visual I kind of view it like that. Like, Dayball and the Giants players are at the Ranger games and stuff like that.
So my vote, I'm going to give you what I would like to happen, but
Okay.
we're going to do what the masses want.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
My thought is we should cover football because there's not a tremendous amount of hockey. There's a lot, but there's not a ton.
Yeah, we can
We'll
keep
see.
it exciting. We can do like contests and stuff of like our picks versus their picks, and like give away some, some Dunkin' Donut gift cards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some TS Mod.
And
gift
so
cards.
comments right now from City in the Blue is we don't need football, but it's the not to football. So again, there's two sides of the story. I don't, and I see both sides.
But here's also another tally for 4 is that we do it at the end of the show. So
Right.
it's either you could turn off or we just turn it off. Like,
Yeah. That is it for us today. We thank the Bamboozle Project and DraftKings for their sponsorship. As always, we thank the Bamboozle Project. Go to thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% off your total order. We are off next week. We are probably off the following week. And then we are going to then get back into the weekly stuff as football starts, if we're covering it, of course. And then also we are going to cover Ranger training camp. Brent bringing in Pot Van Sucks comment. Thank you. That is when you know, like, content is like slow in the summer, when someone can just bring in a comment like that and we put it up on the screen. I've actually thought about doing a clip of, is it time to retire that chant at the Ranger games? And my answer to that would be 100% yes, but that's a story for another day. We thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.